Imagine time slowing down as Shrivatsa Somany dances across the autocross track, his Porsche slicing through seconds that seem to stand still. In this episode, we dive into a moment where reality bends, with Shrivats finishing a full 6 seconds ahead of the nearest go-kart, a feat that defies the very physics of speed. Follow along as he peels back the layers of his Porsche's transformation, each upgrade a meticulous stroke of engineering artistry. Discover how he harmonizes his racing passion with his spouse's understanding of these mechanical canvases as investments in thrill. Looking to the horizon, Shrivats envisions his Porsche reborn as an apex predator of the track, lighter and quicker in a relentless pursuit of perfection.
Akshay didn't tell me that the suspension was on. He plays dumb, saying that I thought we discussed it. I'm like, dude, I told you put the suspension back on. He said, I thought you said कि अगर वो कोई articulation में issue आ रहा था where it was maybe the rear was touching the drive shaft का boot.
Okay.
It could have if it articulated enough. He wasn't sure. So whether he said it was miscommunication, he played dumb as far as I'm concerned. He didn't tell me that it was changed. And I drove it. I had no idea. I competed in stock also, car passed scrutiny also. I was like, oh my god, like I have to like tell Akshay to like cancel those ones. अब next time I meet him, I'll tell him कि like भाई वो हटा दे. Because मैं stock में नहीं compete करनी थी, वो DQ है. Thankfully, my fastest times were not in the stock category; they were in the mod category.
Okay.
So outcome doesn't really change much.
Right. So you were talking about the go-kart of Anush.
Yeah, so it's a ridiculous machine. Frankly, if this is a cheat code, that is like an Uber cheat code.
Okay.
Obviously, you've driven go-karts. I mean, ultimately, they are that much more nimble.
So just for the just in a little bit of layman terms, why would you call this as a cheat code? Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
This?
Yeah.
Perfect 50-50 weight distribution.
Oh, okay.
The engine is right in the middle.
Okay.
It's a boxer engine, so the engine is not as tall. It's
Okay.
a lot lower down.
Okay. Center of gravity is down low.
Much lower center of gravity than a standard engine.
Okay.
And because of a boxer engine, I mean, somewhere you got to lose that axis, right? It's wider, so the car is wider. For the size of car, it's very wide. It's got a lot of grip. It's light.
Yeah.
It's like the dream scene that you would want for a autocross car.
Understood. ठीक है. Got it.
Now, when you consider a go-kart, your butt is 2 inches off the ground.
Yeah.
It's basically a piece of plastic and a little bit of metal. Sometimes not even that. Just a piece of plastic between you and your butt scraping on the tarmac.
Yeah.
It's that much lower. It's that much smaller. It's that much, and with a KTM engine, it's like actually fast. It's not even that you have speed ka problem. So it's. I remember once Anush was just faster, flat out. First time he brought it.
Okay.
No competition, honestly. Again, pushed me where I was like, no, I'm not accepting this. Of course, I'm quite sure if the same person drove both cars, both items, the go-kart would be faster 10 out of 10 times, right? So let's not pretend that this is faster around the autocross track than a go-kart. That kind of go-kart at least. Anyway, so I was like, I'm not accepting this. Need to get better. Shall I change suspensions or do whatever? Let me see how close I can get on my own. Next time we competed, I was behind him the whole day. Whole day. Night time came. That run that you asked me about, that's on Instagram, that Lakshay handheld. That is the run where I beat Anush's go-kart by like some 2/10.
Okay.
It was enough. I was like, that's a particular goal. And I remember even Anush, hats off to again, the sporting spirit of these whole things where he was like, dude, you really, really deserve this one. When I was on the podium with him, right? And that felt like I earned it. But it was tough. Wo bhi raat ko, it was tough. And that's also another point where I knew ki I really do feel like I've reached a particular point where I'm like at that 95% level with this particular chassis in autocross.
Okay.
Track pay, I'm nowhere with
Okay.
this.
Okay.
There'll be a lot of people faster than me.
Yeah, of course.
It was a different ball game altogether. Then we swapped the suspension, whatever. A lot of issues happened. There's some part shortage. So the
Okay.
car was like basically dismantled for like 2.5 months.
Okay.
Then we bought the suspension from F-Tuned.
Okay.
So with this also is funny, like, you know, getting like the standard suspension that people get, the Bilsteins and all that. The cheaper one doesn't fit this. The one
Okay.
that does fit is like a 10 lakh rupee suspension. Like,
Ouch.
I'm not going straight to that level. That's also something I've never done where it's like, sabse mehenga kharido aur chalao.
Huh.
Maybe I can get up to that level, but I love the suspension so far. Like I said, I've never built a car, so
Yeah.
I don't know what constitutes a good suspension, like aftermarket suspension. Of course,
Yeah.
the proof of the pudding is that it's faster.
Correct.
Now I know. So now but I don't know what the peak of this car now is.
Okay.
Once I reach that peak, maybe that 10 lakh rupee suspension is better. Then I'll see if I really want to spring for it.
Okay.
Anyway, right now it's an F-tuned suspension. Cost me some like 2.2 lakhs or something.
That's
landed.
nothing, bro.
Nothing. Nothing for what it was.
Yeah.
Brilliant setup. To the point where even Malik and I did not know that it was on because Akshay
Because I
told
remember
us.
Malik was raving about it, that you know, his car is like rail. It's
Yeah.
like a rail on road.
His is still the race spec suspension. Mine
Okay.
is still a street
spec.
street track spec.
Because considering, I think this is your daily also, so.
Exactly. I don't want to break my back.
Yeah.
No longer a daily, but still I drive it enough.
Yeah.
So with that, we went to the last autocross where the car was just about put together. Akshay didn't tell me that the suspension was on. He plays dumb, saying that I thought we discussed it. I was like, dude, I told you put the suspension back on. He said, I thought you said कि अगर वो कोई articulation में issue आ रहा था, where it was maybe the rear was touching the drive shaft का boot.
Okay.
It could have if it articulated enough.
Huh.
He wasn't sure. So whether he said it was miscommunication, he played dumb as far as I'm concerned. He didn't tell me that it was changed. And I drove it. I had no idea. I competed in stock also, car passed scrutiny also. I was like, oh my god, like I have to like tell Akshay to like cancel those ones. Next time I meet him, I'll tell him कि like भाई वो हटा दे. Because मैं stock में नहीं compete करनी थी, वो DQ है. Thankfully, my fastest times were not in the stock category; they were in the mod category.
Okay.
So outcome doesn't really change much.
Right.
And I got into it. The first few runs, I was like, क्या हो रहा है? Like I said, मेरे को नहीं मालूम है suspension है गाड़ी में. I was like getting hints. Now the damping of this is the original suspension had very good damping, right? Then there's the M3, which has it literally feels like it's got leaf springs on it.
Okay.
It's so bad.
Okay.
It's like crashy and like horrible as a suspension for a daily, right? Might be superb on track. I'm not discussing that. What Porsche does really well is the straddling that balance of like extremely good at track and extremely good on the road. So this suspension did that. And I was like, there's no way another suspension aftermarket will match that. But it did. Like shout out to Farooq. I mean, what a suspension he's made.
Great.
So वो डैम्पिंग इतना अच्छा था तो अब 3 महीने से गाड़ी भी मैंने छुई नहीं है बिकॉज वो शॉप में पड़ी हुई थी एंड उसके भी पहले आई डिडंट ड्राइव इट मच विद द M3 आई न्यू आई हैड अ ईयर और सो दैट आई वांटेड टू स्क्रैच दिस इच तो बहुत कम चली 10,000 kilometers 11,000 kilometers I drove the M3 this I drove maybe 500-600 in that 1 year.
Okay.
So and also in my defense Karan couldn't tell
Okay.
that it was because we went to his house to eat food that day.
Okay.
तो वो चलाया and एक तो I was frustrated because I was like angry at Lakshay because वो थोड़ा confusing बना दिया था, which was a good track.
हाँ.
You know, always on the day you are in a different mood.
हाँ.
So Lakshay knows that we are like कोसोing him कि like क्या बनाया है इसको, and then we marched it with like बहुत अच्छा track था. You know, it's always like that, and he knows it. That's why he doesn't listen to us half the time, and I appreciate that. But in his defense, he had actually, in my defense rather, in this time there were a couple of cone markers missing in very complex areas where I kept missing it.
Okay.
And so I was about within a tenth or two with Achintya and Malik and Anush, who was 2 seconds faster. ठीक है. मेरे को आ रहा है गुस्सा सुबह. एक तो the event was running late. I had already been standing for like 4-5 hours, which I'm just generally a time-bound person, so I started getting very annoyed. And so when I got in the car finally 2 बजे, मैं 10 बजे आया था, 2 बजे गाड़ी में बैठा मैं. कोई बात नहीं, shit happens. Because once you start driving, it's all fun and good, right? चला रहे हैं, I'm like, एक तो time नहीं आ रहा. Car is feeling different, but I can't put my finger on it. Akshay didn't know, but somewhere he must have been laughing his ass off, okay? Like, क्या हो रहा है? Like, क्या हो रहा है? Why am I not being able to put down these times, right? And I was just frustrated. It's actually a really funny story because Karan was in the car once with me. उसी time पे. I overcooked a left-hander after a fast section, right? Went, hit the cone. Oh, another reason why this car is a cheat code, the bonnet is, the bumper is so down low, if I hit cones half the time they skirt. 10 feet they'll fly, but they won't fall. So I don't get the time penalty. The back is what I get the time penalty. If the tire climbs on it, it falls. Dude, 3-4 times this happened and people have witnessed it. I've hit it with 10 foot slide करके जा रहा है.
And the time वो फिर
Achintya will know. Achintya and I were 2 tenths off because I hit a cone reverse and then went straight. I didn't reverse, but I had to. Like, I watched that cone skirt across almost into the other lane because this was just at the last corner, and I was like, didn't fall. Okay, so cheat codes.
So what's the scene? If it doesn't fall, it just skirts off. तो time नहीं कटेगा.
नहीं.
ये क्या
I
है?
ain't complaining. So I hit the cone.
लक्ष्य point to be noted.
Rules वही है भाई. Point कितना भी note करना है कर लो. So I hit the cone. It went आगे. And at this point, right after that, I remember it was a left-hander and a left-hander and then a slalom. And a narrow as hell slalom.
Yeah.
And it was a wide car. And I got pissed. Malik is sitting in the car. I'm like raging at Laksha in the car. Okay, I'm like, kaisa track bana hai? And I'm like flying through this slalom. Okay, where I'm like at the edge of grip. I'm like, Karan like, okay, he never gets scared. Okay, he was like,
I can't imagine Karan getting scared, yeah.
He was like, after we finished, he was like, आज मैं तो गया. Hilarious. I was like so angry. I was like hangry driving almost at this point. And why I was hangry? Like Karan was like, listen, right now there's too many people. It's too hot.
I think Karan is like, चल चल तेरे को खाना खिलाता है. चल.
I think वही हुआ था उसके बाद. But I think literally right after that run, we left for his house. और उसने मुझे अच्छी पराठे खिलाई. उसका कोई स्पेशल पराठे है उसके घर का. It was like crazy. I like devoured them. Okay. Ate food, came back, and I was like, great. तब तक the sun had gone down. It had become a little cooler. The crowd that day had chaatod. So it was back to typical B&D.
Yeah.
Got in immediately a second and a half faster than my previous time.
Okay.
I was like, great. Now I'm happy. Now I've reached a particular point. अब मैं चला रहा हूँ अपना. अब फिर relax हो गए. अब लोग बैठ रहे हैं. Some person came and was like, oh, you know, you were.
And at this point, you still don't know about the suspension.
No, I didn't know about the suspension till a week later when I met Akshay. He was in Abu Dhabi at the time. वो आया and I was like, listen, tell me, you know, the suspension's making a bit of a clicking sound ऊपर. He just looks at me, he's like, I was like, you didn't change it, did you? He's like, no. There is a dumb face he gave me. And then he's playing numb. I will take this to I will die with this on this hill. He did not tell me and he knew. Okay. And so then night time came. Anush was still a 124.
Okay.
124. Night time came, but I hadn't gotten the whole day. I think a lot of what happens in the night time, I do the most runs by far in B&D, by the way. People do like 5-6, I do 15.
Okay.
Maybe 16, maybe 17. As many as I can stuff into a day because I know I can only do it 4 times a year.
Correct.
4 times a season rather.
And I think because of that fact, because it takes that time to really, make the track become a part of your muscle memory. Yeah, and only then you can drive it like at the back of your hand.
When you do a lot in the day, you do start getting tired. Say what you want, you get tired. But this time day में ज़्यादा हुआ नहीं, तो maybe I wasn't tired at night, so I could still see. Also, the cones that day were such that रात को it was easier to perceive the depth in the cone versus the day where you could see everything.
Okay.
Maybe it's just a personal thing.
Okay.
So I found it easier at night. Finally got down to like a 122.
Oh.
Then did one more run, did a 120, 1:08 or something like that.
As against Anusha's best was?
124 something. 120, early 124s.
So you were like 3 seconds faster than a go-kart.
Yes, so I was about 2 seconds I had on him.
Damn.
With the go-kart. Then I did one more run at night. I did 2 runs back to back. Obviously it helped the second run because the tires were like warm and good to go. The last run I had Bharat's son with me. Just ऐसे.
Okay.
I was like, come sit. अकेले थे हम लोग सब लोग ऐसा like बैठ जाओ कोई बात नहीं. And and last 2 runs he was there. Second last run was that 120, 1:08. And he like, oh, that was a really good time or whatever. I was like, ठीक है चलो एक और अब last run है मारते हैं. Ended up with a 1:18.
What?
I smashed my own time by 3 seconds and I was 6 seconds faster than the go-kart.
With extra approximately 70 kilos in your car.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, it doesn't make a difference. The
I'm
extra
sure.
weight,
I mean, just
the
ahead
extra
of it.
weight is not making a difference in a car with 400 horsepower on an autocross track. Like, I refuse to believe it's making even more than a couple of thousands of a difference. I would say.
It would probably, but probably when it gets into 3-digit weight figures, like 100 kilo person.
It will. Eventually, it will.
Yeah.
But if anything, I'm around what? I'm about 65 kilos. Kaushal is probably around again about 69, 70 only. Last, I think, ऐसे randomly कोई conversation हुआ था weight का ही ha.
Damn, bro, 6 seconds faster off than the
if anything, he's balancing the car more. एक तरफ तो मैं हूँ ना weight, so maybe he was helping me.
Probably, yeah. There
Weight is not all bad.
The world is flat, and now it just became flatter.
Yeah. So whatever, it could have just been that. So I drove, hit the 118, and then I was like, damn, that was a good run. To the point, Karan had gone home by this time. वो मेरे को phone करके बोल रहा है कि भाई कर क्या रहा है तू? How are you 6 seconds faster than Anush and how are you 3 seconds faster than your own time? I said, bro, I have no idea.
तेरे पराठों का कमाल है.
मैं तो बोल ही दिया भाई तूने पराठी दी थी. But I was literally like, मुझे नहीं मालूम what happened.
Okay.
I have no idea where that time came from.
Okay.
But I'll take it.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Now I know where it came from. After which I told Karan is like, oh, thank God you're not just going to smash us even more once you would put the suspension on. At least this is like what you're doing. I'm like, exactly.
Interesting. So that brings me to my next question. What does I'm sure you have a build sheet now for autocross, considering you've done a 118. So you know that itch is always there. That अब ऐसा क्या किया जाए जिससे कि I can probably improve my time even more than what I have done earlier. And I'm sure that you have already, achieved a very good level of skill, probably 95%, as you said. So now what does your new build sheet look like? What do you plan in the future for, do you have a plan to have a dedicated build for autocross, or you would want to continue working on this one, or what?
You mean a different car?
Yeah, either a different car or...
No chance.
Oh, okay.
No chance. I don't think a better car at least that you can buy today in India. अब मैं बाहर कोई KTM खरीद लूँ और ले आऊँ वो बात अलग है.
हाँ, correct.
But I'm talking about a vehicle, not a...
But still, I think a Porsche would always be a Porsche.
KTM would probably beat it in autocross because it's like 700 kilos.
Okay.
And I can put like 15-inch tires and like slicks.
Okay.
And it'll be much faster. Because I can still get that up to a 250 horsepower.
Understood.
200 horsepower.
Understood. So anytime in future, are you planning to like put this only as a dedicated car for autocross?
That's the plan. Now, like I said earlier, I have done one track day, one autocross with this suspension.
Okay.
I want to see where I get. A lot of, like, you don't know if you've like plateaued or if you're just trying to break through a particular,
Yeah.
skill issue, so to speak. Once you get, so I want to see whenever I peak out with this particular suspension, then what I want to do is I don't want to put more power.
Okay.
I'm happy with the suspension right now.
Okay.
Once I can skillfully master myself around the suspension, and the next one makes sense to spend money on, assuming. वो तब का तब देखेंगे. What I want to start doing soon, car's about 7 years old. My wife loves the car, so she was like, always in my way, so to speak. She's like, nahi, why do you want to start stripping it down now? You know, I enjoy the car, which is totally fair.
Get another one for her, man.
No. वो M2 है. It's more comfortable. Now, this is not comfortable anymore. Although she did sign off on the suspension.
Okay.
She gave me a lot of grief, dude. She's like, suspension to abhi change kar rahe ho. I won't be able to sit in it. It'll become too stiff because that's what I thought would happen. And she saw it. She's like, no, this is very nice. So I'm just glad. You know, like her and I share that a lot. You know, like she's also passionate about cars. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
it's a good thing because then you can share that passion. But it's not a good thing because then she knows enough to get in my goddamn way. Right? So it's both things.
I hope you're watching this.
She will watch it. I am going to get my ass beat anyway. So might as well go all the way while I can.
You know, sometimes even I choose to, I choose to understand that my wife is a car enthusiast only because she drives a C200 and that's a rear wheel drive. And I have been getting comments on and off that, yaar, drift build. I'm like, no.
Yeah. So, but yes, she knows that eventually this car it's not going to be like, it'll be roadworthy, but it's just going to be too old beyond a point. To like drive every day. Then at that point, you'll be putting too much on the car in terms of like you'll be ruining it in places you don't want to ruin it. So the next goal now is to start stripping the car, start getting the weight down.
Okay.
The goal is to strip about 100 kilos.
And how do you plan to do that? Body panels?
Start with seats.
Okay.
Start with seats, rims, get that standard unsprung weight out of the way. I want to downsize to 18s actually.
Okay.
Not the ugly Porsche 18s.
Understood.
Like a proper set of like, I don't know, something. Apex Racing or something like that. Or maybe like a BC Forged or a... and again, assuming that it will work and it's worth it, then spend a decent amount on like proper rims. Maybe like a set of BBSs or something, right?
Okay.
Whatever's good for the car. I don't care. As long as it's light and strong.
Okay. And in terms of power output, do you want to...
I don't want to change
maintain
right
it.
now. I want to maintain the power band.
Okay.
And I know anything I do right now other than maybe headers or something which maybe I can squeeze an extra 10, 15, 20 horsepower
Essentially, I think what you're planning to do is indirectly you are working on the power output itself. It's just that you're working on power to weight ratio.
I can increase the power to weight ratio if I put it...
Automatically, if you're reducing the weight to where you're right now.
Yeah, correct. But I'm not pushing the engine horsepower higher. I'm reducing the weight.
Sure.
So rims definitely are probably my next thing to do. A set of autocross rims actually. I'll always keep these because they look beautiful. I'll change that. Another thing I forgot to mention that I changed the front radiators and I put a third radiator kit in.
Okay.
So it's got 3 CSF radiators now.
It just cools better.
Much better. It used to heat soak. Like once the temperature would get higher, not in winter, but in the... Like this was doing 2-3 kilometers an hour faster, 5 kilometers an hour faster than the VRSs, tuned VRSs, and on the back straight at BIC, which is unacceptable. And this brakes later also, much later than them. They brake just past the gantry. I brake well past the gantry.
Yeah.
So it was heat soaking and it was heat soaking properly.
Okay.
So change that.
Okay.
So coming back to the thing now, the next build sheet would be the rims, then the seats.
Okay.
Definitely want to lose weight there.
Okay.
I think rims, unsprung weight, I mean, I'm not sure what the calculation is, but each rim I'll probably lose like 3-4 kilos. They're already pretty light to begin with, frankly.
3-4 kilos each wheel will be tough, man. 3-4 kilos each wheel will be quite difficult to achieve, I think. I don't know, because considering these would already be very light, as you're saying.
Yeah, so maybe 3-4 is much. Like normally, like the M2, I will lose 3-4 kgs a wheel because those are casted rims.
Okay.
They're not forged.
Fair enough.
This, I don't know if they're casted or forged. I think they're casted only.
Okay.
So maybe I'll lose. Maybe I'll lose at least 3 kilos a rim.
Okay.
Also, you're downsizing, no? You're going to 18s. So
Right.
that's another weight saving. Your tire options open up at 18.
Okay.
This has very limited tire options because it's a 265 and a 235 40. सामने का तो तभी भी मिल जाता है in different compounds which are like R compounds. पीछे का नहीं मिलता.
Okay.
Nobody but Cup 2 makes them. Then they're like some different version of, you downsize them, upsize them. There's enough forums where people are doing it, but I've tried a 275 35 on this.
Okay.
completely threw off the traction control system.
Okay.
And it was a 245, 35 in front, completely threw off the ABS.
Okay.
Even Malik drove it once and the car was locking up.
Okay.
And then suddenly the ABS was coming on. It was cutting power randomly,
Okay.
out of corners. Sticking to the stock size, sticking to the Cup 2s right now, and they're phenomenal tires.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I'm glad that the one tire I can get outside of the dumb P0s are the Cup 2s, which I'm very happy for.
Yeah.
So great.
Okay.
No complaints.
Great.
So after that, probably stiffen the chassis more.
Oh, okay.
See, whatever I'm saying right now is what I feel is the best way forward.
Yeah.
But I'm not an expert on this, like I've
Yeah.
already said. These are things I'm going to bounce off Karan, who I speak to a lot about all this. Bounce off Akshay.
Yeah.
These things as to what is the best way forward, because
Sure.
now at least they are also fully on board with what the goal is.
Or you could probably speak to some people abroad as well who have
definitely
done...
Definitely
Yeah.
that. Absolutely. People who have built the Caymans for Nürburgring and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But stiffen the chassis, obvious stuff, right? Like stiffen the chassis, lighten the wheels,
Yeah.
maybe go for slightly bigger brakes, but I don't think I need to.
Yeah.
Suspension is fine, cooling is fine.
Yeah.
Second stage of like, after everything, then just go to town on the dashboard, man. Just strip it completely.
Huh.
The goal being like how Porsche sells the club sport versions of their cars, which are not street legal cars, but they have a full roll cage and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
A 2.0 T club sport is what I want to call it.
Understood.
That's what I want to get the car to.
I was
That's
just
the
about to
ultimate
tell
goal.
you that, so what you're thinking is actually like an RS of the RS version, so to say. Stripping down the dash. and
Basically
everything.
getting down to a club sport.
Yeah.
And that's the end goal. And I think at that point, this car will be its final form, so to speak. That's my build sheet.
Okay.
How I'll get there? I have lucky to have like a lot of friends who are much better at it than I am to help me through that journey.
Understandable. So, I mean, looking at your experience in autocross, I mean, you already know there are so many young guns who are wanting to enter into autocross and who are probably the second set of people who have just entered autocross, and both these people, they have sort of a hesitation ki I have a very bone stock car. It could be any level of car I'm talking about. It could be a Maruti Suzuki, it could be a Honda, it could be whatever, let's say a Cayman or a Mini. So they are always hesitant of entering into autocross, thinking that ये गाड़ी खराब करेगा and कर पाएंगे कि नहीं कर पाएंगे, perform कर पाएंगे नहीं कर पाएंगे. Is there something that you would like to say to them to probably just give them more clarity?
Yeah, definitely. So let's say there's two types of people. Most of the young guys who are coming into autocross, I mean, we are in our 30s now.
Yeah.
We were also young at one point, right? And we also drove like idiots at one point. And thankfully, we are all in one piece right now, and we made it out unscathed from that.
Yeah.
18 to 21 wala age.
Yeah.
So if these guys are in that age where, they drive, not sugarcoating it, drive rash on the road, please don't. We were told, I was told, mat karo, और हम लोग तभी भी करे. It has to be something you get out of your system, but all you can keep doing is telling them, please don't do it. So, public advisory, please don't. But you are putting probably the same amount of load, maybe less, when you're driving an autocross.
Okay.
Your car is not going to get ruined from any angle.
Okay.
Worst thing you can do is probably you'll hit a cone, and you're going to have to take some spit and wipe the rubber residue off your bonnet or your bumper. That's it. And if you're really unlucky, you might crack a headlight if you really hit it the wrong place. The cones, I mean, this car's headlights are already low enough.
Yeah.
Those bigger cones are much nicer,
And let's say even if you meet with an accident, it will be just you. And, it will be...
That's the same thing on BIC, right? But you
correct.
don't want to meet an accident on BIC because you're going a lot faster and you will screw your car.
Yeah.
No question about it. This, you can't do anything. You won't even get like gravel in your brakes or something if you go off the thing. So there's not much you can really ruin, and speeds are much lower. Like technically, like you're supposed to have the average speed of straights in autocross, I think, should be capped at 100 kilometers an hour, average speed. Obviously, this goes faster. So you're not going above 100, you're touching 100 and you're going down. Average top speed, I should say. I think that's the rule.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.